World Series Game 6 and 7. Game 6 on Halloween night on Friday, and then Game 7. And look, if you're a Toronto Blue Jay fan, you got to be in shambles. And I always get kind of not overly emotional, but when I'm watching the World Series, it just feels bigger to me. Obviously, championship setting, it always feels huge, right? Whether it be college hoops, national title, Super Bowl, NBA Finals, always feels huge. But for whatever reason, the World Series to me always feels even bigger, just because you go through spring training and you go through 162 games where you're playing every day, and then you got this long postseason run, and then boom, it comes down to 2 games, and obviously Game 7 comes down to 1 game, and it's just so much is riding on every single pitch, every single decision, every single ground ball, every single at-bat. And to lose the way Toronto did, I don't know if you can come back from that, right? And there's no guarantee when you get to that level, right? We talked about the Bengals, the Super Bowl in 21. There's no guarantee that you can get back to that level ever going forward. And there's a lot of people, myself included, that were optimistic that you could. But now, the next thing you know, you look down, you ain't going to playoffs here in 25. 26 looks like you're going to be a disaster. All of a sudden, that was 5+ years ago since the last time you were at the Super Bowl. So it's just tough in professional sports. But the Jays, man, so many opportunities. Caught the bad break in Game 6 with the ball being lodged. Definitely 1 run was coming home to score there in that situation. Heads-up play there by the Dodgers. Kike. By the way, that center fielder whose name escapes me here at this point, I think he was going to try to pick it up, but then Kike came flying in from left field, and he put his hands up. So I think that kind of impacted the decision there not to pick the ball up. Obviously, ended up being a huge decision there in the ball game, and then getting thrown out at second. That just can't happen. That just can't happen, bro. I mean, a fly ball to left field. I mean, you cannot be that far off the bag. Now, I credit to Kike. I don't know if Roberts had him playing in or if he just made that decision on his own. But at the crack of the bat, obviously, watching on TV, you have the angle of the hitter. And right when he hit it, that's a hit. That's absolutely a hit. Then Kike, he was already playing in, comes flying in, catches it. And you're like, wow, what a great play. And then you're like, oh, my goodness, Barger's off the bag here at second. And then boom. And that's kind of all the momentum there shifted in LA's favor kind of going into Game 7. And you're kind of sitting there like, oh, is Toronto ever going to be able to bounce back from this and put themselves in a spot to even have a chance in Game 7? And obviously they did, because the Blue Jays had chance after chance in that game. The Bo Bichette home run, when it happened, 3-run shot. One of the coolest moments ever. Just an absolute pimp job, no doubter, way out of here. What a story for him, right? Was one of the best players in baseball throughout the duration of the year. All the hits that he had, all the power that he showed. Then he's out through the end of the regular season, through all of the postseason. Comes back Game 7. He's playing, or comes back Game 1 of the World Series, playing a position that he never played, second base. Makes several good plays there, and then shows up with the bomb. And think about earlier in that game when he was on base. I mean, he can't move out there. He literally cannot move on the base pass. And there was opportunities earlier in that game. I was like, oh, he could have scored if he had some speed out there. But, Bo wasn't able to get home in early innings, and then he makes up for it there with that 3-run shot. And you kind of felt it there for a little bit there. And, the plays they made defensively. How about Varsho? It was towards the middle of that game, maybe 4th inning or so, where he lays out, bases loaded, just tremendous play from Varsho. Ended up being a sac fly, but it felt like a huge play for the Jays. Then Vlad lays out at first base, makes a play, tremendous. And then the Dodgers, I mean, when you have them in a spot, you got to bury him. You absolutely have to bury him. And the Blue Jays did not do that. As you're sitting there, Savage comes in. How about that? I felt kind of bad for him because he has his moment in Game 5 where he's at the top of the world. And unfortunately, people are just going to remember Muncy kind of hitting that home run off him in the 8th. But he came out there in the 7th, limited rest, obviously did a nice job, but missed to Muncy, who had stunk throughout the whole postseason, throughout the World Series. Really had a down year in general for the Dodgers, but he comes up huge. And a 2-run lead as opposed to a 1-run lead in Game 7 of the World Series. I mean, that is just a huge, huge difference. All of a sudden, it feels like LA is back in it. And then from a Cincinnati perspective, kind of interesting or funny, I guess, how it ended with Jeff Hoffman out there. An opportunity to get 3 outs, win a world title for the Blue Jays. They get the first guy out, and then Miguel Rojas. And, so much is made in Major League Baseball about managers and making decisions. And there's no it's very obvious to me that the manager in Major League Baseball doesn't compare to the head coach in the NFL. The head coach in the NFL has a significant say in how his team goes out there and performs in the success of his team. And I think even in some degree, you can argue for basketball there as well. Baseball is definitely at the bottom for how much impact the head coach, so to speak, has. But Dave Roberts, man, look, he's lost a lot of big games and games he shouldn't have lost as the manager of the Dodgers, but he pulled all the right strings in this game and in this series, to be honest with you, and going with Rojas when they needed a spark, and he absolutely provided it. One of the clutchest home runs ever, tying that game. And then you're sitting there like, oh, my goodness, is this happening? I mean, ninth inning of the World Series, 2 outs away from a title, and this guy goes deep. Older guy, I think 37 years of age, played the game for a long time, was not an everyday guy at all down the stretch here for the Dodgers, and he comes in full count, and Hoffman misses, and he made him pay, tie the game, and then it's like, oh boy. But even in that moment, like the Jays kept fighting back, and he kept thinking, like, even the end game 6, you're like, wow, that was the Jays' chance. They lost it. And then they keep responding and keep fighting back and put themselves in the ninth inning when they're in a spot to win this game and walk it off. Right, and Ernie Clement, what a dog that guy is. Just an absolute dog. I love me some Ernie Clement. And it was a breaking ball, I believe. I think it was a ball probably. And he just golfs it. And Kike's running back. And you can tell Kike did not have a good beat on that ball. Next thing you know, he's turned around, back to the ball, trying to basically Willie Mays it. And here comes Pages from center field. And however tall he is, crashes into him, makes the catch. Just what a decision from Dave Roberts there in that spot. They had went off of Pages. They had tried to play him early in the series. They had played him throughout the duration of the postseason. Wasn't offering anything offensively. But they were like, you know what? We have to make this switch. We need him out there defensively to save our season. And he comes up with a huge play to send it to extras. I mean, just off the bench, making a play like that, just absolutely ridiculous. And then even in the 11th, Will Smith, one of the biggest home runs you'll ever see. Go-ahead home run, extra innings, Game 7 of the World Series. No doubter. Bieber's in at that point, and the ball was smoked by Will Smith. And then the Jays respond again, and Vladdy, off Yamamoto of all people, gets the double to start that inning for them. And then they're in a spot 1st and 3rd where it's like, you give me a fly ball in the outfield, you tie this game. And then broken bat, Alejandro Kirk, and my heart just dropped when that happened as Mookie, no issues, fields it, taps second on to first. GG's, world title for the Dodgers. But Yamamoto, what a performance from him, all-time stuff. He threw Game 6, got the win, and then they're going to call on him on Game 7, and he's going to throw 2 2/3 innings. I mean, I pitched as a kid, right? I didn't pitch at this level, obviously. And I remember pitching as a kid. The next day, your whole body, it's not just your arm, it's your whole right side that is just in shambles, right? And Yamamoto goes out there and goes Game 7 of the World Series after throwing 100-plus pitches the previous night. All-time stuff. Dodgers win. Heartbreaking for the Jays. And the dynasty, I guess, continues here for the L.A. Dodgers. Got to give them a lot of credit. Their backs were against the wall. They continue to fight, and they pull off a huge win as they win the world title. And we'll see what happens in baseball going forward. Obviously, a lot was made of, if the Dodgers win again, is that going to change stuff with, the CBA? Those conversations coming up around the corner. We'll see. But great all-time World Series. Devastating if you're the Blue Jays. And unbelievable stuff. Dodgers win again.